Esther Perel, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Thank you. I am so socially distant from you right now as well.
The name Esther Perel, people think of the books like Mating in Captivity. People think of the TED Talks. People know you as somebody who talks about the complexities of dating in the modern world. But now, the modern world is a completely different world. And so I'm sure as a therapist who talks to so many different couples, you've seen what coronavirus has done to relationships. So let's start with the most basic thing. Has coronavirus been good or bad for people's relationships?
There's only two options, right? You know, people have sometimes either complained about being too close, too much together, 24/7 on top of each other and wanting more air, or people have longed for more connection, more closeness, more contact because they've been too far apart. So on some level, at the extremes, people have either felt too much or too little. That's one thing I would say that's really fundamentally changed at this moment. But basically, when you have a pandemic, when you have a disaster, it intensifies everything and it functions as a relationship accelerator. What it means is that you have a sense of uncertainty. You don't know where we're going. We still don't know where we're going. There's a prolonged sense of uncertainty. There's a deep unknown. And as a result, there is also a sense of mortality that is hovering over you. So people are saying life is short. And when life is short, you start to push all the superfluous overboard and you hone in on the essential and the priorities. And you basically say, what am I waiting for? Hence, let's get married, let's have babies, let's move. Or I've waited long enough. I've been here one day, I'm out of here. And hence, we know from past disasters that it's often a proliferation of babies and divorces that follow pandemics.
Wow, a proliferation of babies and divorces. What a way to think of coronavirus and its effect on us as human beings. On your podcast, it was really interesting because you spoke to couples in quarantine. What have you found are some of the things that have helped couples, and what are some of the things that hinder couples who either have to spend all their time together or all their time apart?
So, what I looked at in Where Should We Begin was exactly that. What are the acute stressors that directly influence the way that the couples are either getting along or not getting along at this moment? What happens when you have a complete overhaul of the roles? One person doesn't have his job or her job. In this case, in the Sicilian couple in Where Should We Begin, the man loses his job. She works as a doula in the hospital. She has to go every day. She has the 3 young children, and the entire structure of the family has changed overnight. In addition, they were kind of already living with a rather big rift between the two of them, and suddenly they find themselves thrown into a whole different level of interdependence. So you have different coping styles, and you have really a sense of exacerbation of our coping styles. It's not negative per se. What makes it good is when the complementarity exists between people and one says, you're good at this, I'm good at that, and these two are both necessary. What is not so helpful is when one person says to the other, my coping strategy is the right strategy. Why are you worried? Or the other one who says, you're not taking enough precautions. That's the classic one at this moment. And each person thinks that the way they manage their fear is actually the right way of being in the world.
I think what you said earlier on is something that we have to address considering what's been happening, and that's been the stresses. The stresses in the relationship, the tensions, the conflicts that have been exacerbated. From America to South Africa to India to all over the globe, we've seen a dramatic rise in domestic abuse within relationships. Is there something that we attribute that to? Is it something that was always going to happen, or does coronavirus make it happen? And then how do we deal with it in society? How do couples or even groups of people deal with this issue that's causing so many women to be domestically abused in a way that they weren't before?
And children. But look, I think that what happens is that when, in this instance, because not all domestic violence is on the side of men. Sometimes we talk about 15% being on the side of women, but predominantly it's on the men's side. When you lose your job, when you can't provide, when you lose your status, when you feel worthless, when you have money worries, when the stress becomes acute, you have all the conditions. That kind of agony is the right conditions for domestic violence and violence against children. It's been like this throughout. And for some, sometimes the very fact that their partner can't protect themselves and can't go out exacerbates the power that they have over them. You're trapped with me. And if you really want to go out, go see what will happen to you. So what we do, there's all kinds of things that societies have tried with apps, with codes, where women can go to the supermarket and they can give the code and they can identify themselves as being vulnerable, as being in danger, as needing to be removed, as being able to go to the hospital. There are systems that are trying to create safe places, but no, you don't just have the system in place before. So you want to try to make sure that people maintain as much as possible a job or have a sense of security. You want to take away those exacerbators that are likely to help you strike.
You always talk about how, you know, we have multiple relationships with people, even if it is the same relationship. As things change and we change, we move into different relationships. So as the world changes, do you think people should take a restock of their relationship and what they're looking for and what they're currently in because they're living in a new world? Because someone may say, I wanted to be married, but not if it means the person is here 24 hours a day. Or I wanted to be, you know, more single and free, but not if it means that I'm alone 24 hours a day. Is this the time for people to take stock, or is it not the time because it's coronavirus?
I think that people are taking stock no matter what. People realize I didn't mean to be with the person. We quarantined together, and I realized I could never have done this alone. I am so grateful for the presence of this other person.
Right.
So it goes all over the place. It also is the fact that at this moment, if you work at home, you also have all your roles at the same table, on the same chair. You are the CEO, or you are the worker, and you are the parent, and you are the teacher, and you are the child of, and you are the partner, and you are the lover. I mean, there is no differentiation between your roles. And so that in itself is exhausting. That's part of why these boundaries are so important. We have unprecedented expectations of our relationships, both in the romantic sphere and in the work sphere. You know, secularization has made it so that we expect from our relationship meaning, belonging, and community. It's like a whole village. And I think that in a moment like this, we know that mental health is deeply connected to social connection. And that means that even if you can't see people, which is not necessarily the case, you can take walks with people, you can call them, you can, it doesn't all have to be on Zoom. The essential important thing here is to not think that because you are confined with one person, it means that your whole life is with one person. Right. Your whole life needs all the connections, if not more so. And in fact, people began at first to call people that they hadn't seen in years. Just, how are you? What happened to you? Like they went through their memory lane, you know. And one is stay connected socially, and two is be helpful to others. When you're helpful to others, even your neighbors who you never met before, you actually feel less passive and less helpless in the face of this big unknown. And those two things are essential elements of mental health. It's basically relational health.
Well, I could talk to you for hours on this, but I guess that's why you have the podcast and that's why you have the books. Hopefully we'll have you back on again after coronavirus to figure out how we tweak our relationships now that we're free again and we're seeing strangers in the street for the first time.
Esther Perel.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Bye, Trevor.